The air in Burbank, California, was still and quiet that morning, a faint haze clinging to the hills as the sun began to rise. Pat Price sat alone at his small kitchen table, a cup of black coffee cooling beside a thick stack of papers. The reassuring familiarity of the suburban scene outside his window contrasted sharply with the complexity of Price's thoughts. He adjusted his glasses and stared intently at the sheet in front of him, a crude map dotted with unfamiliar markings. A government handler had given it to him the day before, cryptic instructions barely masking their urgency. Somewhere, thousands of miles away, a hidden Soviet facility waited to be uncovered. But Price would not rely on reconnaissance satellites or intelligence reports to find it. He would close his eyes, quiet his mind, and step into the unknown. As the minutes passed, a profound stillness filled the room. Pat's breathing slowed, his pen hovering above the page. Then, almost imperceptibly, he began to write. Line by line, he sketched details no one could have guessed, details that would soon challenge the very boundaries of reality. But, as Price worked, he could not have known the chain of events his gift would set in motion, nor the shadowy forces that would one day question whether such knowledge was meant for any man to wield. This is the story of the Stargate Project, where fact and the unexplained converge, and the truth is stranger than fiction. The year was 1970. The Cold War was at its peak, a global chess match played with nuclear weapons and espionage. But far from the headlines, a different kind of battle was taking shape. One fought not with bombs or spies, but with the mind itself. Declassified intelligence revealed that Soviet scientists were pouring resources into the study of psychic phenomena. Rumors began to circulate, stories of experiments with telepathy, telekinesis, and even the use of clairvoyance to access classified American secrets. To the United States, it seemed impossible to ignore. What if these experiments were real? What if the Soviets had discovered a way to weaponize the human mind? The CIA couldn't take that risk, and so a quiet directive was issued. Match their efforts, or risk falling behind in a psychic arms race. Under the utmost secrecy, funding was allocated to a series of experiments aimed at unlocking the untapped potential of the human mind. What began as a curiosity soon escalated into a full-fledged program, an operation that would come to be known as the Stargate Project. It was here, in hidden facilities across the United States, that scientists and psychics came together to explore the unimaginable. Remote viewing, mind reading, even influencing distant events. No idea was too far-fetched, no theory too bizarre. And yet, despite their secrecy, the stakes were impossible to hide. For both nations, the belief in psychic espionage was a double-edged sword, an opportunity for unimaginable power, or a path to paranoia and chaos. From these origins, the Stargate Project would grow into one of the most controversial operations in CIA history, its shadow stretching across decades of covert warfare. And at the center of this strange and secretive effort stood individuals like Pat Price, whose extraordinary claims would challenge the limits of belief and draw the attention of forces far beyond his control. For a program steeped in mystery, it's no surprise that its participants were equally enigmatic. Among the ranks of the Stargate Project, a handful of names stood out. Men and women whose alleged abilities seemed to defy explanation. Ingo Swann was among the first. A painter by trade, Swann claimed to possess an extraordinary gift, the ability to see distant places and objects, without ever leaving his chair. Skeptical scientists called him a fraud. But during the early trials, Swann delivered results that were impossible to ignore. In one experiment, he was tasked with describing the contents of a sealed box, located in another room. Without hesitation, he sketched a detailed representation of its hidden contents, a feat the researchers later confirmed to be accurate. Swann's most astonishing claim came during a session involving a Soviet military facility. Without access to any prior intelligence, he described not only the physical layout of the site, but also activities taking place within it. The accuracy of his accounts left many wondering, was this intuition, coincidence, or something far stranger? Then there was Uri Geller, the celebrity psychic known for his spoon-bending demonstrations and supposed telepathic powers. Recruited into the program in the 1970s, Geller's sessions produced wildly controversial results. In one test, Geller was asked to replicate an image drawn by a researcher in a sealed room. To the astonishment of the team, his sketches matched the original with uncanny precision. But skeptics pointed to his showmanship and public infamy, questioning whether Geller's results were genuine or simply elaborate illusions. Swann and Geller were not alone. The Stargate Project attracted a host of individuals with extraordinary claims, each one offering glimpses into abilities that bordered on the supernatural. To this day, their stories spark heated debate among believers and skeptics alike. Were these psychic spies truly tapping into an unexplored human potential? Or were their successes merely the product of coincidence and clever manipulation? For those who worked alongside them, the truth remains as elusive as the abilities they claimed to possess. Before Stargate became an official program, it went by other names, code words buried in layers of secrecy. In the late 1970s, it was known as Operation Grill Flame, and its mission was as audacious as it was unorthodox: to use psychic abilities, to locate hostages, and uncover hidden threats. In one early experiment, a psychic was tasked with finding an American general who was being held hostage in a remote location. The operative closed their eyes, described a structure surrounded by barren terrain, and sketched the scene in startling detail. Days later, the description matched the site where the general was eventually rescued. Another mission involved a Soviet missile installation hidden deep in the wilderness. With no prior intelligence, a remote viewer pinpointed the location and provided sketches of the layout. When aerial reconnaissance was conducted, the site was confirmed to exist, almost exactly as described. By the mid-1980s, the program evolved into Project Sunstreak. Its scope expanded, targeting hidden military installations, enemy submarines, and even buried weapons caches. The methods became more refined, but the results remained just as inexplicable. In the history of the Stargate Project, no name looms larger or more mysteriously than Pat Price. A former police officer turned psychic operative, Price's abilities defied explanation and left both his colleagues and skeptics questioning the limits of human potential. Price's most famous contribution came during a remote viewing session in the early 1970s. Tasked with describing a highly classified Soviet installation, one unknown to American intelligence, Price closed his eyes, focused, and began to speak.
There's a large building with unusual antennas. It's surrounded by tall fencing and guarded heavily. Inside, I see large machines, almost like cranes, moving something underground.
Price described the facility with an eerie level of detail, even identifying the code word used by Soviet personnel to refer to the site: mountainside. When his sketches and notes were compared to satellite imagery and intelligence reports, the match was undeniable. Price had described the facility with precision, despite having no prior knowledge of its existence. His handlers were astonished, but Price's work also raised unsettling questions. How could he know these things? Was his gift the product of an untapped psychic potential, or something far stranger? But Price's extraordinary abilities came at a cost. In 1975, while staying at a Las Vegas hotel, Pat Price died suddenly of what was officially ruled a heart attack. Yet the circumstances of his death sparked immediate suspicion. Some claimed he had been targeted by foreign intelligence, his knowledge deemed too dangerous to be left unchecked. Conspiracy theories flourished. Did Price know something he wasn't supposed to? Was his death truly natural, or was it orchestrated to silence him? To this day, the full extent of Pat Price's abilities and the secrets he took to his grave remain unknown. Within the Stargate Project, not every target was earthly. Among the program's most controversial experiments were sessions where participants claimed to explore places far beyond our world, viewing alien civilizations, mysterious craft, and encounters with the unknown. These sessions, often dismissed as fantastical or delusional, were never part of Stargate's official mission. Yet they persisted, fueled by the inexplicable visions reported by some of its most skilled remote viewers. One participant described viewing a desolate landscape, lit by two suns. There, they claimed to see towering spires and figures with elongated limbs, their movements slow and deliberate, as if in low gravity. Another reported a metallic-looking craft hovering silently above Earth's surface, radiating an energy they said felt alive. The connections to UFOs were unmistakable. Some believed the remote viewers were tapping into extraterrestrial presences, civilizations watching us, or perhaps even guiding humanity's course. Others argued these were mere fabrications, the result of overactive imaginations under pressure. The participant remained adamant. The experience wasn't just imagined, it felt undeniably real.
I wasn't just seeing something. I was there. I could feel the air, the vibrations under my feet. If it was a hallucination, it was the most vivid one I've ever had.
Yet, despite the skeptics, some officials seemed intrigued. If these sessions offered even the slightest possibility of accessing extraterrestrial intelligence, the implications were too significant to ignore. Quietly, these experiments continued, blending the realms of psychic espionage and paranormal exploration. For the participants, the experience was often as unsettling as it was profound. They returned with descriptions of beings, landscapes, and technologies far beyond human understanding. But whether these visions were true glimpses of other worlds, or the subconscious mind manifesting fears and fantasies, remains a mystery. The Otherworldly sessions are a reminder of how far the Stargate Project ventured into the unknown, and how much of that unknown still lies beyond our grasp. Perhaps the most intriguing story in the Stargate Project's history is its alleged involvement in the Iran hostage crisis. In November of 1979, the world watched in shock as the US Embassy in Tehran was overrun. 52 American diplomats and citizens were taken hostage. The crisis would ultimately span a total of over 400 days. As conventional efforts to resolve the situation faltered, officials turned to unconventional methods, including the secretive Stargate Project. Within days of the embassy's capture, a team of remote viewers was tasked with an extraordinary mission: locate the hostages, determine their condition, and provide intelligence that might aid their rescue. For the psychics involved, It was one of the most high-stakes assignments they had ever faced. The viewers described locations they believed were holding the hostages. Rooms with heavy security, guarded doors, and even underground spaces. Some reports were detailed, including sketches of what they claimed were specific captors' movements and even the emotional states of the hostages. But the intelligence community was divided. For every official who saw potential in these reports, others dismissed them as pure speculation, arguing that any accurate details could be chalked up to guesswork or coincidence. As the crisis dragged on, skepticism around the program grew. Despite the efforts of the remote viewers, their insights didn't produce actionable intelligence. But for the Stargate Project, this wasn't seen as a failure. It was another step in refining their methods. Even today, the exact impact of Stargate's involvement in the Iran hostage crisis remains unclear. Did the remote viewers provide genuine insight that was ignored? Or were their contributions nothing more than a desperate experiment, a long shot in a time of chaos? The Iran hostage crisis marked one of the few documented instances where psychic espionage was deployed in a real-world scenario. And while it failed to deliver definitive results, it raised a troubling question. If traditional methods aren't enough, how far is too far in the pursuit of solutions? Throughout history, peculiar cases with uncanny similarities to psychic espionage have emerged, raising questions that defy conventional explanations. Psychic Dorothy Allison was known for assisting police in missing child cases. In one notable instance, she predicted that a missing boy would be found drowned in a river with his shoes on the wrong feet. Her details turned out to be accurate. That kind of specific information, difficult to attribute to chance, has led some to reconsider the potential validity of psychic insights. Australian psychic Debbie Malone provided information that led police to the body of Maria Scott, a missing person, accurately describing the location and condition which had been previously undiscovered. While these stories are captivating, they are not without controversy, raising questions and skepticism that challenge the very foundation of these extraordinary claims. The concept of psychic spies has long captivated the public imagination, blending the allure of espionage with the mysteries of the human mind. Programs like the US government's Stargate Project sought to harness extrasensory perception for intelligence gathering, particularly through techniques like remote viewing. Advocates of psychic espionage propose several theories to explain the potential mechanisms behind such abilities. Some suggest that quantum mechanics, particularly the phenomenon of entanglement, could allow for instantaneous information transfer across vast distances, potentially underpinning psychic abilities. Then there is the collective unconscious idea. This theory posits that a shared reservoir of human experience and knowledge exists, accessible only to individuals with heightened psychic sensitivity. Another theory, enhanced perceptual abilities, suggests that certain individuals may possess acute sensory perceptions beyond the known five senses, enabling them to access information not readily available to others. Ingo Swann's lunar observations claim to have perceived details about the far side of the moon, including artificial structures, during controlled sessions. While lacking verification, such accounts added to the mystique surrounding psychic spies. Despite these intriguing narratives, the scientific community remains largely skeptical of psychic ability. Critics argue that experiments in remote viewing and other psychic phenomena often suffer from methodological flaws, lack replicability, and fail to produce statistically significant results under controlled conditions. But many remote viewing sessions, such as Pat Price's Soviet facility descriptions, were conducted under strict protocols with independent corroboration. How can this be dismissed when subsequent intelligence validated key details? Skeptics also highlight the role of cognitive biases, such as confirmation bias and the tendency to perceive patterns where none exist, as explanations for perceived psychic experiences. Yet, in cases like Dorothy Allison's prediction of the drowned boy with shoes on the wrong feet, how could bias alone account for such highly specific and accurate details? Some point out that many purported psychic successes can be attributed to logical reasoning, educated guesses, or access to information through conventional means rather than genuine extrasensory perception. But the Stargate Project produced descriptions of Soviet installations where the information provided was both inaccessible by conventional means and shockingly precise. Could it truly be a lucky guess? In 1995, the Stargate Project officially came to an end. A government-commissioned report deemed the program ineffective, concluding that psychic espionage provided little actionable intelligence. For skeptics, it was the logical conclusion to an experiment that had always bordered on the implausible. But for others, the story didn't end there. Questions lingered about whether the termination was genuine, or if the program simply went deeper underground, hidden from public scrutiny. Some insiders have hinted that the research continued in classified circles, its scope expanded to explore new techniques and technologies. If true, could psychic spies still be operating in secret, gathering intelligence in ways beyond our comprehension? The allure of psychic spies lies at the intersection of human curiosity, the quest for untapped potential, and the clandestine world of intelligence. While the historical context of the Cold War spurred interest in unconventional methods of espionage, it's essential to approach such claims with a balanced perspective. The lack of consistent empirical support necessitates caution, yet the persistence of compelling anecdotes invites continued exploration. In the end, the narrative of psychic espionage serves as a testament to humanity's enduring fascination with the unknown and the lengths to which we might go to uncover hidden truths.